concealed, surrounded, unveiled. Patricia Lambertus's Apocalypse in the Kulturkirche St. Stephani Bremen is a circular installation. More than 4 meters high and over 18 meters wide, the panorama covers a space of more than 75 square meters. Apocalypse surrounds the beholders like a colossal stage set. Apocalypse means discovery or revelation. The work is a gigantic machine of disillusions and illusions. To see and understand it means taking a journey through the different stages of concealing, surrounding, and unveiling. First things are revealed first, last things last, if at all. Upon entering the Kulturkirche St. Stephani Bremen, you encounter a massive installation, a circular structure made of more than 400 used Euro pallets, some of which are well worn. This is a support for a concealed picture and appears like a mundane version of an iconostasis. When you enter the circle of pictures, you can only see approximately half of the 360-degree view, because our field of vision is only about 180 degrees. We can only look at the panorama bit by bit. Perceiving the entire cycle of images thus becomes a kind of mental cinema, as our brain combines the individual details into a vision of the entire picture. Time is required to get an overall impression. Apocalypse is an oversized collage, or an overabundant décollage. Countless details taken from pictures are combined with other details and placed side by side in a single layer, or they overlap in several layers. Installed and staged, Patricia Lambertus is a creator of collages, wallpapers, and installations. For her collages, she browses her archive of images, then she takes those she has selected and manipulates these with a computer program before reassembling them in a new way. The result is a template for wallpaper, which in a classic sense is a kind of large graphic print. As for the installation, she creates a kind of stage set with the spatial situation as her stage and the print as her backdrop. Patricia Lambertus selects, composes, and stages. She uses new technology and old principles, very old. For eons, if an artist wanted to depict a beautiful Helen of Troy, they would take a lovely pair of eyes from here and a pretty nose from there, and so on. Artists imitate this and that from nature and this and that from culture. Thus, Die apokalyptischen Reiter, The Riders of the Apocalypse, by Albrecht Dürer, is a collection of studies of horses as well as an illustration taken from the anonymous master of the Cologne Bible. Composing and decomposing. Upon entering the panorama, we first encounter a large middle section framed by a curtain on both sides and two smaller parts left and right, separated by the door. From a classical point of view, it is a triptych. When looking at the images on the sides, we get the impression that the left side is idyllic and the right side an inferno. On the left, the collage includes, for example, a paradise scene by Lucas Cranach the Elder. On the right, a dark vision by Hieronymus Bosch. The middle part shows, for example, a street fight taken from the mass media. Each of the three vertical parts of the pictorial arena is also separated into three horizontal parts. On the bottom is a floor of black and white squares that blends with the pictorial space. On the top is a vault, and above it, the firmament. In the middle, we can see landscapes, among other things. If you turn around and around in the panorama or move back and forth, you realize after a while that certain details counteract the 3x3 division of the overall picture. Thus, we find the Battle of Waterloo by Louis Dumoulin, both in the middle and the wings. The positive zone on the left is disrupted by a duel between two children playing war with laser guns, while the negative zone on the right is disturbed by a group of men resting on lava from a volcano, as if it were a warming remedy, a kind of fango for your feet. Humans are flirting with disaster. In paradise, they are flirting with violence against humans, and in Inferno, they are flirting with the violence of nature. Because she composes and decomposes this work in such a way, it seems as if an apocalypse is happening in Lambertus' Apocalypse all over, all the time. Something bad is happening, but not the final catastrophe, for humanity is still around, and the actual apocalypse has not yet happened. Narrative layers. The pictures in Patricia Lambertus' panorama have been taken from various sources. She has appropriated them from art history. We have a print by Dürer. From the media, an image of a burning drilling rig. From the internet, a print after Dürer, and some she made herself. The artist removes these pictures from their original contexts and puts them in a new one, her Apocalypse, where they are recoded. One example of this from the left part of the triptych is a woman painting a watercolor. It is based on a photograph the artist took at the Cologne Fair Halls in 2015. The dog at the woman's feet is from a painting of Paradise made by Cranach the Elder in Wittenberg around 1530. These very different places and periods thus all converge in this picture, in Bremen in 2016. Detail for detail, the panorama portrays layers of stories. As a whole, it tells a selection of many new stories. The artist structured her work as an open artwork. In general, all figures and actions are associative and can be interpreted freely, she says. She presents an apocalypse that will evoke different stories for different beholders. As a kind of mental cinema, it produces many kinds of apocalypses in our minds. There are many possible readings of this work, and this introduction is only one of them. While it is only a limited approach, there are still 3 reasons for applying it. To understand how the artist fundamentally sees her work, to understand how she selects and explains individual details, and as a possible critique of the mental cinema that also addresses the problem of diverging and converging criticisms. An example of this is the photograph above the doorway of the panorama of a sculpture of a decapitated man, holding his head in his hands. For Lambertus, the man stands for people who are decapitated today. For the author, he represents Saint Denis of Paris, who suffered this fate in 250 AD. In the end, both the contemporary artist and the art historian agreed that the figure is a universal representative of all victims of decapitation. Another example is the street fighter in the middle section. In the news, he is a specific fighter at a specific place and time. In Apocalypse, however, he is put in a new context and a new code, and he becomes a universal idea of a street fighter. Theatrum mundi. It does not matter if a pictorial source is old or new. In Apocalypse, it is alienated from its original context. Added to the overall picture as a new network of meaning, it changes roles by interacting with the other pictorial sources and their own roles. Something historical transforms into something poetic. Something particular becomes something universal. This was how Aristotle differentiated between the truth of historiography and the possibility of poetry. Patricia Lambertus's panorama is something poetic. Something historical is only apparent as something meta-historical. Apocalypse is a theatrum mundi, a world theater. The 2 curtains have a 3-fold effect. In terms of composition, they separate the panorama into a triptych. In terms of metaphor, they refer to the translation of the Greek term apocalypsis as unveiling. In terms of dramaturgy, the form of a triptych hints at the 3-fold division between the first, second, and third act of a play. Apocalypse creates theatrical effects. It is arranged like a colossal stage, a gigantic machine of disillusions and illusions. A stage set and stage area that follow the idea, to install is to stage. The artist integrates photographs of humans in costumes in 3 places. One appears like a chimera, half human, half animal, in the middle section of the triptych. This figure is turned toward the burning drilling rig, facing away from us. It wears a costume in the same colors as the fire, with antlers and dark shields around the torso area. The artist fills her theater of static pictures with these so-called cosplayers. Cosplay is short for costume play, a popular phenomenon with its own role-play convention, where people celebrate their fantasies of acting, dressing up, and playing roles. In all 3 instances in this work, the cosplayers are mythical creatures, 2 of which have antlers and 1 has wings. Playing seems to be an anthropological constant, or an anthropological joker, insofar as humans put themselves at risk in their game of role-playing, Bot 6. Plato said that each of us was a puppet of the gods. Patricia Lambertus brings the theatrum mundi back to earth, where humans play humans. Utopian and dystopian prospect. A street fighter kicks a burning tire toward the beholders. He does not speak, it is his provocative gesture that asks, what are you fighting against or for? Are you fighting at all? If you're not ready to fight, then you will probably ignore this question and instinctively reject it. Do I want civil war or war? No. An inferno like this one here on the right? No. An idyllic situation like this one here on the left? Yes, but without the war games the children are playing, if possible. When asking ourselves such questions, We identify with one of the scenarios portrayed in the Theatrum Mundi for ourselves. As an open artwork, Apocalypse is open to all, to militarists as well as pacifists. In the middle section of the panorama, the statements, "Be ready" and "Join now" on a poster advertise for a war effort. Apocalypse is a question-producing machine that appeals to the empathy of the beholders. What are you for and what are you against? What utopia, New Jerusalem, idyllic world, and so forth are you for? What dystopian prospect are you against? Old Jerusalem, Inferno, and so forth. What story do you tell? What would you like to tell? Alpha and Omega, again and again. Undeterred by militarists, pacifists, or anyone else, the burning tire rolls out of the pictorial space, through the space of the beholders, and back into the pictorial space again. The woman painting a watercolor will burn, like the dog at her feet. What was once an idyllic scene will become an inferno. According to the revelation to John, the path leading from the old to the new, Jerusalem is a path that leads to the new, the final place. Every story ends there. What remains, remains, without tears being shed for what was or for what will come, because nothing will become any longer. What remains, remains forever. Patricia Lambertus does not take such a subspecie eternitatis, which means under the aspect of eternity, perspective. There is no alpha and no omega for her. She uses the form of the panorama as a symbol of an infinite cycle. Of apocalypse after apocalypse, the game is over, again and again, sequel after sequel, again and again. The burning tire is the wheel of fortune, fate, or kismet. It is a warning sign. The tire is rolling, the wheel is turning. Patricia Lambertus' panorama apocalypse is an endgame without end. No? Good. Since that's the way we're playing it, let's play it that way, and speak no more about it. Speak no more. Old stancher. Pause. You remain. Pause. He covers his face with handkerchief, lowers his arms to armrests, remains motionless.